Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going straight into something a lot of people are thinking about: weight management.
Definitely.
We've got some really interesting info here about what Pfizer, the big pharmaceutical company, is up to with weight loss medications. You hear so much about new options, so yeah, we wanted to dig in.
Right. And see what their research might actually mean for, future choices.
Achieving a healthy weight, it's a real journey for so many.
It really is.
So, understanding the science behind potential new tools is, well, pretty crucial. Our mission here is basically to pull out the key stuff from this guide we have on Pfizer's work.
Okay.
We'll look at how their investigational drugs work, the potential upsides, maybe downsides, and, how they fit into the bigger picture of weight treatments already out there.
All right. So, weight loss meds. It's not just one thing, is it? The source breaks down a few kinds.
Yeah.
You've got appetite suppressants, pretty straightforward. They try to make you feel less hungry. Then fat absorption inhibitors, which limit the fat your body actually takes in.
Right. Metabolism boosters, trying to speed things up. And then this category, GLP-1 receptor agonists.
And that seems to be the key one for Pfizer right now.
Exactly. Our source says their focus is really narrowing in on those GLP-1 agonists.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about the GLP-1s, is they're not just about appetite. They tap into some, core metabolic pathways.
Wow.
I'll get into the details, but that's, a big difference compared to maybe some older types of drugs.
Good point. Now, Pfizer, everyone knows that name.
Oh, yeah.
These are the folks behind huge drugs like Viagra and obviously the COVID-19 vaccine more recently. So they have a massive track record.
For sure. Serious players in pharma.
And it's worth saying, they don't actually have a Pfizer-branded weight loss pill approved yet, but they are clearly investing big time here.
Right.
This guide we're using, it specifically calls out danuglipron, that's PF 06882961, if you want the sciencey name, as a really key drug they're looking into.
And that history matters, right? Pfizer's reputation means when they focus on something like GLP-1s, it suggests they see, real scientific promise there for weight management.
Makes sense. So how do these things actually work, these GLP-1 agonists that Pfizer's looking at?
Okay, so the guide explains they basically mimic hormones your own body makes.
Natural hormones.
Yeah, exactly. And they do a few clever things. First, they slow down how quickly food leaves your stomach.
Okay, so food hangs around longer.
Right. You feel full for longer, which, makes sense. Less empty feeling, maybe less urge to snack constantly.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's not just the physical fullness. They also act on receptors in your brain that help control appetite.
Ah, the brain connection.
Exactly. Helps dial down those cravings. So for you listening, it's hitting both the stomach signals and the brain signals.
Okay, and there was a third thing.
Yes. Improving insulin sensitivity.
Right. Now, for those of us who aren't doctors, what does improved insulin sensitivity actually do in terms of weight loss?
Yeah, good question. This is where it connects to overall metabolic health. Better insulin sensitivity means your body gets more efficient at using insulin to manage blood sugar.
Okay.
This helps prevent those big spikes and crashes in blood sugar that can often, trigger hunger and also encourage fat storage.
Right.
So it's not just weight, it's better metabolic function too.
Yeah.
Especially helpful if someone's overweight or dealing with type 2 diabetes.
Got it. So let's circle back to this main ingredient, danuglipron, PF whatever it was.
PF 06882961.
Yeah. It really sounds like the centerpiece of Pfizer's current effort here. The guide hints they might be looking at other things too, maybe targeting fat metabolism differently or other appetite signals.
Sure, research is usually broad.
But danuglipron is the star for now, it seems. And this is so important. These drugs go through incredibly strict testing, right? Totally different from some supplement you see online.
Oh, absolute critical point. The level of scientific rigor, the clinical trials for drugs like danuglipron.
Yeah.
It's just leagues beyond typical supplements.
Yeah.
The whole point is proving they actually work and that they're safe through proper studies.
So do they work? What are the early studies saying about danuglipron? Because, that's the bottom line for people.
Well, the guide points to some pretty significant results in early trials. We're talking around 10 to 15% of body weight lost.
Wow, 10 to 15%. That could be life-changing for some folks.
It really could. And it wasn't just the number on the scale, apparently. Participants also reported feeling less hungry, and they saw improvements in those metabolic markers we talked about, like blood sugar control.
Compared to placebo?
Yeah, compared to people taking placebo. The difference seems quite substantial based on this early data.
Okay, so how does this potential new pill, danuglipron, compare to stuff that's already out there? The guide has this handy table comparing it to Wegovy, lots of buzz around that one, and orlistat, which some might know as Ali.
Right, that comparison is useful. Shows the different approaches.
So danuglipron, if approved, is a pill, an oral GLP-1. Wegovy is the same type of drug, GLP-1, but it's an injection. And orlistat is totally different. It blocks fat absorption, and you can even get a lower dose over the counter.
Exactly. Different mechanism, different delivery methods. What else stands out to you from that comparison?
Well, the weight loss numbers for danuglipron and Wegovy look kind of similar in that 10-15% range, which is interesting given one's a pill, one's a shot.
Yeah, that's notable.
Orlistat seems to result in less weight loss, maybe more like 5-10%. But again, it's easier to get at least the lower dose.
Right, accessibility versus maybe potency.
And side effects.
Yeah.
The guide mentions things like nausea, diarrhea for danuglipron, sort of typical GI stuff. Wegovy is known for nausea too, maybe more vomiting. Orlistat has its own digestive issues, often related to the fat blocking.
And those side effect profiles can really influence which drug someone tolerates or prefers, even if they seem similar on paper.
True. And the availability is key. Danuglipron's in trials. Wegovy needs a prescription. Orlistat has that over-the-counter option. Big differences for the user.
Definitely. Pill versus injection is a big practical point for many people too.
Okay, let's talk safety. Always top of mind with any medication. The guide lists potential side effects for Pfizer's drug. Common ones sound like, nausea, diarrhea, maybe constipation, some mild dizziness. Kind of expected with these types of drugs sometimes.
Often, yes, especially when starting. Gastrointestinal side effects are pretty common with GLP-1s.
But it also flags rarer, more serious possibilities, things like pancreatitis or gallbladder issues.
Right. And while those are reported as rare in the studies so far, it's absolutely crucial, like the guide says, to talk this over with a doctor.
Absolutely. They need to weigh your personal risks.
Exactly. Assess your whole health picture, any risk factors you might have, and monitor you properly if you do take it. Which leads to the question, who is this actually for?
Good point. Who are the potential candidates? The guide suggests adults with a BMI of 30 or more. That's the definition of obesity.
Okay.
Or a BMI of 27 or more if they also have other weight-related health problems like high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes.
The comorbidities.
And it also mentions people who've really tried with diet and exercise but haven't seen results, and importantly, who'd be under doctor's care.
Makes sense. So it's not a first-line thing for everyone.
Definitely not. And it clearly states who should not take these: pregnant or breastfeeding women, and anyone with a history of pancreatitis. So it needs careful selection.
Yeah, those BMI numbers are a starting point, but the doctor considers your whole history, previous efforts, other conditions. It's very individual.
And another really vital thing the guide stresses, these aren't magic pills. You can't just pop one and expect miracles.
Absolutely not.
Oh.
They work best, much best, as part of a whole lifestyle change.
So taking the pill is prescribed, yes, but also a calorie-controlled diet. The guide even suggests focusing on lean protein, fiber from veggies, whole grains, the healthy stuff,
The foundations.
and exercise, regular activity. It recommends about 150 minutes a week of cardio, plus strength training a couple of times.
Yeah, that's key. The medication is a tool, but it works with diet and exercise, not instead of them. That combo is what leads to sustainable results and better health overall.
And the guide busts a couple myths too, which is helpful. One is that idea you can just take the pill and eat whatever you want.
Right, we just covered that. Definitely a myth. Lifestyle changes are essential.
The other myth is about safety and addiction. The idea that FDA-approved weight loss drugs are somehow inherently unsafe or addictive when used properly.
Yeah, that's an important clarification. When used as prescribed under medical supervision, these GLP-1 medications are not considered addictive. And the FDA approval process exists precisely to evaluate safety and effectiveness.
Good to clear that up. Misinformation can really stop people who might benefit from getting help.
For sure.
Okay, the million-dollar question for many listeners. When can I get this Pfizer pill? Where is it?
Yeah. The guide is very clear here. It's still in clinical trials, not available for public purchase yet.
Right. Still being tested.
Exactly. And it includes a really important warning. Be super careful about fake or counterfeit versions you might see advertised online.
Oh yeah, dangerous stuff.
Very. Once it is approved, the guide emphasizes it will almost certainly be prescription only. You'll need to see your doctor. You won't just find it on a shelf.
Okay, so patience is needed. This is standard for new drug development.
It is. That FDA review process takes time, but it's there to protect patients, ensure the drug is safe, and does what it claims to do.
Now, it's always interesting to hear from people who've actually taken these things, even in trials. The guide shares a couple of quotes.
Oh, like what?
One person said something like, lost 20 pounds in 3 months with minimal side effects. Another mentioned preferring a daily pill to injections, saying it was easy to take daily.
Okay, interesting little snapshots.
Yeah, just anecdotes, obviously. Individual experiences vary wildly, but it gives a tiny glimpse into potential real-world use.
Good to hear. But yeah, I gotta remember it's early days and based on trial participants, not the general population yet.
Definitely. And finally, the guide wraps up with some FAQs. Quick takeaways seem to be not FDA approved yet, expected weight loss based on trials, maybe 10-15% over a year or so, and crucially, talk to your doctor about any other meds you're taking to avoid interactions.
Yep, sums up the current status well, and always, always underscores talking to your doctor.
So wrapping this all up then, Pfizer is definitely making a serious play in the weight loss drug space. This danuglipron, the oral GLP-1, looks like their main focus for now.
Seems like it.
Early trial results look promising potential for significant weight loss, helping with appetite, metabolism, blood sugar.
Yeah, the potential is there. It's exciting to see more options being developed, especially potentially convenient oral ones. Could really add to the toolkit for managing weight.
But it's not here yet.
Not yet. Patience.
So for right now, the advice hasn't really changed. Balanced diet, regular exercise, those are still the cornerstones.
Absolutely. And talking with your own healthcare provider for personalized advice, that's always step one.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe, for people listening to mull over.
Go on.
If these oral GLP-1s do become widely available, how might that shift the whole landscape of weight management? You know, what new questions does it raise? What else do we need to learn?
That's a great point. It could really change things. Definitely an area to keep watching. Lots more research and real-world data will be needed.
For sure. Okay, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. We'll definitely keep tracking developments here.